Why is the siege of Jerusalem identical to the siege of Magdala? Many biblical scholars mention the siege of Jerusalem, but never mention the siege of Magdala. Pay attention to the similarities. According to historical scholars, the siege of Jerusalem took place in April 70 CE to August 70 CE.
The siege of Jerusalem was a massive military endeavor, the likes of which had not been seen since the fall of Carthage 2 centuries earlier. Starting in April of 70 AD and lasting nearly 5 months, the battle would be a brutal, no-holds-barred brawl fought over every inch of the city.
The Siege of Magdala campaign started December 1867 to April 1868. The British campaign set sail in December 1867 and landed in Zula in January 2nd, 1868, which had in the meantime become a genuine harbor city. British agents were already establishing contacts with Ethiopian princes who opposed Emperor Tewodros. So both campaigns lasted for 5 months. For the siege of Jerusalem, a Roman general named Titus led the Roman campaign that captured and destroyed Jerusalem. For the siege of Magdala, General Robert Nepter led the British forces in the Battle of Magdala. Simon Joris served as the commander of the Jewish force during the siege of Jerusalem. And Tewodros II was the king/emperor of Ethiopia during the siege of Magdala. In the story of the siege of Jerusalem, local rulers were eager to donate men to the war.
We may speculate that local rulers were eager to donate men to the war effort in a political bid to secure Rome's goodwill amidst a bloody revolt. The Roman commanders themselves may also have been eager to have additional troops at their side. While the local forces were surely not as reliable as the crack legionaries, they could take on many responsibilities of the army and thus free up the elite troops to do what they did best.
In the event of the siege of Magdala, because of the dispute of the Ethiopian princes at the time, the British leaders were able to get support from the Ethiopian princes. In dealing with the Ethiopian princes, the British military leadership thus followed a policy based on the principle of divide and conquer. Many of these princes were in open revolt against Emperor Tewodros, and the English made skillful use of this fact. The Romans attacked the Jews in 3 different areas in the siege of Jerusalem.
The Roman forces approached Jerusalem in separate marching columns due to the security and supply constraints of the Judean hill country. Titus led both the 12th and 15th legions by the most direct road, while the 5th Macedonica approached via Emmaus, and the 10th Fretensis approached via Jericho. On April 23rd, the lead units of the 12th and 15th legions arrived on the hills to the north of the city. That night, the 5th Macedonica arrived, and by morning, the rest of the army entered the battlefield. Before them lay the great city with gleaming temples and stout battlements. The city of Jerusalem is surrounded on 3 sides by steep ravines. To the east lies the Kidron Valley, to the west the Gihon Valley, and sweeping around the south is the Hinnom Valley. A series of hills surround the area, including the famed Mount of Olives to the east.
During the siege of Magdala, the British Empire also attacked Magdala in 3 different areas. General Nepter's strategic sites for his attack on Magdala, which had to be made from the west, especially since the allied Gala warriors had blocked the access routes to both the east and the south of the fortress. Another coincidence is that the Jews' treasures in the story of the siege of Jerusalem were taken by the Romans.
When the time came, Titus would parade down the streets of Rome atop a chariot, at the head of a procession glorifying the conquests in the east. Soldiers and captives marched down the streets in full regalia, alongside floats depicting dramatic scenes from the campaign. Vast amounts of treasure were also on display, including the great 7-branch menorah.
And of course, during the siege of Magdala, the British troops also looted Ethiopian treasures. After the Magdala expedition ended, many stolen objects, cultural artifacts, and art objects found their way, often by indirect paths, into state and private collections, family possessions, and in the hands of ordinary soldiers. Most of the books and manuscripts went to the British Museum and British Library, and there are more Ethiopian treasures and artifacts that were looted that are listed below. And in the ending of both battles, Jerusalem and Magdala was burnt down.
While the revolt may have been symbolically crushed, Jewish resistance would burn on until the final Roman suppression of Masada in 73 AD.
On the afternoon of August 17, 1868, the destruction of Magdala fortress began. Then the fortifications were blown down and the hunts set on fire. Since there were hardly any stone buildings, the flames quickly spread and also consumed the church, which was actually supposed to be saved. Which is also mysterious since the siege of Jerusalem land was made of stone walls. The reason why both of these events are similar because one is a Roman tale and the other is a true event. The siege of Magdala is not mentioned to the world because it reveals Great Britain's secrets. And this proves how the Roman Empire changed time to include their false narrative and their false history, aka his story.